In this lesson, we'll set up auxiliary controls in the form of custom parameters we'll use to drive our foot rig with. Now let's go ahead and talk about this. Why would we create a set of parameters instead of just going in and creating extra controls to drive our foot rig? Well, with custom parameters, we can manage our animation a little bit easier this way, simply because those parameters would be tied to just one object. So the same object we would use to animate our leg with would be the same object we'd use to animate a foot roll and a heel pivot. So let's go ahead and go to our Modify panel, and we'll go ahead and start to work on populating our list here with more custom parameters. Now before we get to that, one thing we'll want to do is go ahead and take our toe pivot controls, and we just want to make sure that the pivot will be properly placed on our grid. That way we pivot from the right spot. So in order to do that, this can be done very easily by going to our Hierarchy panel. I'll go ahead and select both toe pivot controls, and let's go ahead and grab our Move tool and switch over to World Mode, and now we'll go ahead and turn on Affect Pivot Only. Alright, so what we can do at this point is go ahead and just drag this down until the pivot is placed on the grid. Great. If you would like, you could always go to, let's say, your side view and just double check to make sure that we have placed this right here on the grid. Alright, that's going to work out very well. Alright, now going back to the perspective view, let's go ahead and turn off Affect Pivot Only. We now want to make sure that we freeze transforms on this object. So we'll go ahead and Alt right click and choose Freeze Transforms. Beautiful. So we are ready to go. Let's go ahead and start to create our custom parameters. We'll just work on the left side, and I'll show you how to wire a few of these. It's really basic. You'll get the idea after we have set up a few. So after we're done with the left side in this lesson, we can go ahead and make sure to take care of the right side, and in the following lesson we'll set up our banking control. Alright, so with the left foot control selected, going back to the Modify panel, I'll go ahead and press Alt-1 to grab the parameter editor. We're working with a float type, and the first set of parameters will be parameters that will control our foot bend. So that's this helper here that we would use to add more follow-through to the foot, so we can go ahead and loosen it up during a walk cycle, for example. Alright, so I'll go ahead and name this parameter foot bend underscore roll. We'll give this a minimum range of -360 and a max range of +360. Let's go ahead and copy the name of this parameter, and we'll choose Add. Alright, so there's the first one. We will be using roll, swivel, and twist for all helpers except for the banking control. We'll simply use just one parameter named bank. So the next parameter will be our swivel control. Let's go ahead and paste. That's going to be foot bend underscore swivel. Let's go ahead and add it. And then we'll create just one more for the twist direction. So notice we're giving the animator control over each rotate axis. So they have the liberty to animate the foot however they'd like. Alright, let's go ahead and now create a set for our foot bone. So that's this helper here. That's what we would tie our parameter to. I'm going to go back to the animation control and go ahead and paste the name in. And instead of foot bend, that's going to be just foot underscore roll. I'll go ahead and copy this name and choose Add. Go ahead and paste. That's going to be foot swivel. Let's go ahead and add that. And then finally, foot twist. Okay, great. So I'll go ahead and add that. All right, so we're creating just a few more here. We'll create a set for the toe, for the heel, and then our bank. So again, we'll go ahead and paste this in, and instead of foot, now let's go ahead and type in toe. We'll go ahead and copy this name. Go ahead and add, paste. That's going to be toe swivel. and then finally toe twist. All right, great. So from there, let's say we go ahead and create parameters for the heel the same way. So that's heel, roll, swivel, and twist. I'll go ahead and add this. There's one. Let's create one for the swivel. And then for our twist direction. All right, so we have just one more to create, and that will be for our banking control. We'll simply name this bank. Great, so as we start to add animation, again, we can animate from just one control object. Great, and that will also allow us to make a very clean rig, one that is not cluttered with several controls that sometimes can be very intimidating. Now, sometimes we do need those extra controls, so if we do need to add those, we'll certainly go ahead and do so. But always think about ways to create a very clean rig. It's very fun to work with. All right, so now that we have these in place, again, we'll worry about the bank in the next lesson. Let's go ahead and start to wire the other parameters. So I'll go ahead and grab the leg control, right-click and choose Wire Parameters. We'll choose Modified Object, Extra Controls. Let's go ahead and find the foot bend roll channel. Let's go ahead and find our foot bend helper. That's the box helper here. Let's go ahead and click on that. And that's going to be Transform, Rotation, Zero Euler. And I'm going to tie this to the x-axis. I know that axis isn't the roll axis, but I'm just going to go ahead and tie to that axis just to show you how to edit the expression if you ever need to. Now we will be using the deg to rad function, so let's go ahead and add that. We'll concatenate our foot bend roll, and let's go ahead and copy the deg to rad function here, as well as the first parentheses. This will just help us to add this function a little bit faster. So after we choose connect, if we were to test this out, I'll just close out of the wiring dialog. You'll see that when we start to move the roll channel, we're actually controlling the twist. So to know for certain what channel we need to drive, it's just a matter of going to the rotate manipulator and making sure we're in gimbal space. So you can see the roll axis is actually Z, the twist is the X, and our swivel is the Y. So if you ever need to update your expression, it's just a matter of pressing Alt-5 to go back to the wiring dialog. Let's go ahead and load that object, the foot bend object, in on the right side. And you can see Max will automatically get to that parameter for us. And the parameter being controlled is also highlighted red. All right, we can now go ahead and grab our animation control. Let's load that on the left side. Here is the foot bend roll. Let's go ahead and now highlight the X and go ahead and disconnect. So we need to go ahead and tie this into the Z channel instead. Let's go ahead and use the lower arrow once we've made sure of that. We'll go to our expression and let's go ahead and paste our function in. And we'll just need to go ahead and add now an end parentheses. So now we'll go ahead and choose connect and everything will work just fine. I'll minimize the dialog. We'll start to work with the foot bend roll. All right, so now that's moving in the correct direction. Great, so that's the process for the rest of these. You might want to leave your animation control loaded in on the left side here. So you can quickly go ahead and load in the other objects on the right side. So if we wanted to take care of the swivel, it's really simple. We'll go ahead and highlight the foot swivel. We'll highlight the rotate y-axis of our helper. Use the lower arrow. We'll go ahead and paste our function in. Make sure to add the end parentheses at the very end of the expression and choose connect. So for the foot bend twist, we know that that gets tied to the x-axis. Let's add our function. Let's make sure that we concatenate foot bend twist and we'll choose connect. Again, it's really straightforward. So let's do that for the other helpers. We know that we need to go ahead and tie down the foot roll, the toe roll, And we also need to tie down the heel to finish up. So I'll leave that up to you. Remember to create the custom parameters for the right side and tie those together. And then the next lesson we'll learn how to take care of our banking control.